this is one of those seasons, you know, nothing went away early. We battled through injuries.
Yeah.
We grinded. I wasn't even here. I'm happy to be back.
Yeah.
The seventh time. All right. Don't take that for granted. On 7, everybody pop these mother.
That is Justin Verlander, the pitcher of the Houston Astros, the voice of a great cause, celebration. Houston Astros, 7 times they're going to the ALCS now. 7 straight times in a row, matter of fact. But we're not talking about them. We want to talk about the Orioles, Dodgers, and the Braves, who had the exact opposite of that feeling the Astros had. We'll break down why they were bounced out in the division round, and should Major League Baseball change the playoff format. All that and a whole lot more. Let's get it.
Oh no! Keith Lee! Oh, a double team! Come on, PJ. Forrest 1. Oh, PJ fell out. 2, 3 strikes. Should I get up, PJ? Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
This is Uneducated Sports Talk. Stay smart, stay uneducated.
Welcome all sports fans and everyone across the nation. This is Uneducated Sports Talk. I'm your host, Carlos Clayton, and we're going to break down why the Baltimore Orioles, LA Dodgers, and the Atlanta Braves all were bounced out pretty easily in the round of the divisionals in both the NL and the AL. So let's get it down. The Houston Astros, the only team from the top 4 who have bye weeks to start off the playoff format to advance to their championship series, the ALCS. We had the Orioles, the number 1 overall in the American League, the Dodgers, number 2 in the National League, and the Braves, number 1 in the entire Major League Baseball. All three teams over 100 victories. None of them advanced towards the conference championship of their own particular divisions, or their conference, excuse me. Or break down why. Houston Astros, they had no issues, right? They beat the Twins 3-1, and they're off to it. But why? Why for the Orioles, Dodgers, and Braves? Why is it that they came up on the short end of the sticks in their respective series? Here we go. My thing is, these teams had it coming anyways. Baseball, it's regular season and it's playoffs. Two different sports, honestly. Where in baseball you have 162 games going on for the regular season, and there's a wave of roller coasters, but the good teams have more ups than downs. We're talking Dodgers, Braves, and the Orioles of this year. Way more ups and downs, and there's not that much pressure. But it's funny, you play so many games, and in the playoffs, it is shortened down tremendously. You went from playing 162 regular season games to now in the first round, it's a best of 5. That is it. So in that format, you are going to see the best of the best pitching, right? You're going to see the best pitching, and you're going to see more focus from each end. Now, the advantage that the teams that win the division, and you're talking about the top 4 teams, the first 2 in the American League and the first 2 in the National League, they get the bye week, they get to rest, and they get to set up their starters. That is the main thing. The main thing about setting your pitching up to where when you're in there now, you have your 1 and your 2 starting the first 2 games against maybe the team's 3 and 4 pitcher. That is how it's set up. Does that always work? As we see, no, it has not. We're not talking about teams that just have great everything, hitting, pitching, timely hitting, timely pitching, great management. The Braves, the quote unquote best team in the regular season. I mean, hitting was off the freaking charts, but their pitching wasn't really there. Let's be honest, they lost Charlie Morton for the year. They were going to have some struggles when you have one guy in Strider that you're depending on. The rest were kind of a toss up. That's not going to work in the series. The Baltimore Orioles, they're just super young. They're super young, and this is they just haven't had the playoff experience. They understand now that the playoffs are totally different. They spun 162 games. We're talking well over almost 50 series being played, and were never swept at all. They waited till the divisional round to first time to get swept or lose a series. 3-0 by the Texas Rangers. Their excuse to me is there's no excuse, but the Rangers were just the better team. The Rangers literally were first place in the AL West for about 150 something days, pretty much, and waited till the end to choke it out and to the Houston Astros, and that's why they faced the Rangers, who, in my opinion, had the better hitters, and they were destined to have a shootout between themselves and the Orioles. I think the Rangers were the better team regardless. The Dodgers, the pitching non-existent, too many injuries, and Clayton Kershaw is just not that guy, and we all saw why. So, but those teams had the excuse. We had the long layoff, right? Those 5 days of waiting. And I agree. Look, baseball is a rhythm sport. Gotta get your timing right, right? And to have those 5 days, you can have all the coaches pitch to you. You can have all the scenarios to try and get you in the best focus. But at the end of the day, the adrenaline is not there. The focus of you know winning or losing is not there. You're just there in practice. I don't know what to say about that except for one thing. Who won the World Series last year? Hmm? Who won the World Series last year? That's right, the Houston Astros. They were the number one overall seed last year. Had the same 5 day layoff, and they won the World Series. I'm sorry, that same Houston Astros team this year, number two in the ALCS, but had the same 5 day layoff. That team advanced to the ALCS for the seventh year in a row. So before I get into why I can care less about the Dodgers, Braves, and Orioles excuses, let's listen to Brian Snicker, what he had to say about his team. And he's an old school manager, so he really, really, really gets it.
We've talked about the crazy things happen in the playoffs, and they've always happened in the playoffs. But the last few years where teams have had byes, where they've had extended time, baseball being such a game of rhythm, whatever the right amount of teams should be in the playoffs, do you think the system ought to be in such a way that there isn't that much time?
No, I'm not going to say that's the excuse for us, because you know what? I look at the Astros, it didn't bother them. You know, they kind of kept hitting on all cylinders. I remember I used to ask Bobby if he worried about clinching too early, even for the playoffs, and he never did. I mean, it was always like no. And you know what? And we go into this next year. We're going to try and fight like heck to get home field, to win the division. It's not ideal.
There you have it. He gets it. We did everything that we had to do to try and get ready. That was his earlier comments before what I just played. But then he said, there's no excuses. Hell, look at the Houston Astros. What I've been saying the whole entire time, even Brian Snicker understands. Look at the Astros. They went through the same thing. Yeah, they sure seem to be hitting like it's nobody business. I'm sorry, Yordan Alvarez, 4 home runs in that series against the Twins, right? Jose Abreu, big time home runs. That hitting went nowhere. There is no excuses for the Braves, Dodgers, and Orioles. For one, I do like that they added this playoff format. I don't want to change. I mean, who doesn't want to have the rest? And I like that Brian said next year we're going for the same thing. We're going to try and win the division, and we want that layoff. We just got to find a way, a better way ourselves to get ourselves prepared for the NLDS if we do win the division next year. And that goes for the Orioles and the Dodgers. And I'll be real with you guys. Those teams, even without the 5 day layoff, I think those teams lose anyways. I think the teams they played, the Phillies, just have the Braves number in the playoffs. They're just not scared of them. They have a 1-2 monster in Wheeler and Nola, and you have Bryce Harper, Nick Castellanos, Kyle Schwarber, guys who have been there and done that. They were going to beat the Braves no matter what. The Baltimore Orioles, just young behind the ears, they're wet behind the ears. They were going to get beat by the Rangers regardless. The Dodgers and the Diamondbacks, that was the one little shocker where you had Freeman Freddie Freeman and you have Mookie Betts combined for like 1 out of 22. That was the weird thing right there. But they got swept, and I don't care if you have a father. You cannot get swept when you're the Dodgers against the Diamondbacks. That just let me know the Dodgers had no pitching. They were not ready. The Diamondbacks were ready. I don't care. I do not care. And here's the thing: there have always been layoffs in the playoffs. Now, not necessarily the wild card round to the divisional series, but we've had a lot of divisional series to the championship series and championship series to the World Series, where if guys win by 3 games to nothing or win 4-0, they gotta wait 4 or 5 days and you go to it. Matter of fact, a good example: the 2019 Washington Nationals. They went through a 5 day layoff before the World Series. They still won the World Series against the Houston Astros. See what I'm saying? They still won. They still won. There is no excuses for what the Braves did, none for the Dodgers did, and none for the Orioles, especially the Braves and the Dodgers. Those two teams over 100 wins. Great regular season wise, but when you come down to the playoffs, it is the best of the best in a very, very short span. And you cannot go through a slump like these two teams did, the Braves and the Dodgers, right? I'm sorry. There's no excuses because that team in the American League, the Houston Astros, who are going for their third straight World Series appearance, they went through the same resume as those three teams did. The playoffs are just fine how it is. You're either good or you're not good in the playoffs. When you have those great regular season records, you might as well throw it all out the window because in a 5 game scenario, in a 7 game scenario, hell, in a 3 game scenario, ask the Blue Jays and ask the Brewers, right? Of best of 3, you gotta be on your A game, home field or not. You gotta be ready. The Braves, Dodgers, Orioles were not ready for those teams to come in there and mollywop them. It wasn't even close. When you look at the series wise, Orioles, Dodgers getting swept, Braves lose in the gentleman's sweep, honestly, to the Phillies. There's no excuses though. There's none. You can name all that, and it doesn't matter. When you're on the field, you are on the field. You have the right to rest. Although players in the MLB sports doesn't want it, it is what it is. Because if those same guys win, they're not saying nothing about it, but they lost. And it's a loser's mentality to always bring up why you did not win. When the Astros just went through the same scenario last year and this year, and they're proving it just doesn't matter. You gotta have the moxie. You gotta have the heart to fight to go through it. Pitching and hitting. It is what it is. Yes, Acuna did not show up. Yes, Freddie Freeman did not show up. Yes, the Orioles' entire staff did not show up. Astros showed up. They're playing well. They won. What's the issue? I don't know. The Braves, Dodgers, and Orioles, they have a lot to make up for next season, but they got to find a way to shake off that rust if they win their divisions next year because, like I said, there's just no freaking excuses. If the Astros can do it, anyone can do it. But then again, it's the Astros. They make everything look easy right now. All right, y'all. In the comments down below, let me know. Should a Major League Baseball change the playoff format, or do you like it how it is? I like it how it is. Stop crying and just win some games, y'all. We're out of here, man. See you guys on our next episode. Love you guys. Always sports fans, you guys know what time it is. Stay smart, stay uneducated. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. And share to all of social media. Let's get it. Stay smart, stay educated. Peace.